Good morning and welcome. Welcome to my live stream. We're here to fight CPS with your host, Bob Pace. And it's May 7th. It's a Wednesday. And this is an ongoing live stream that I'm on daily, typically Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. But today I'm on at 8 a.m. I have a commitment later on today that I have to attend. On the weekends, I'm on at 8 a.m. And at evenings, I'm on at 7 all nights, all 7 days of the week. That's all Pacific Standard Time, the West Coast of California. And I am, again, warmly welcome you to a government agency that we seem to be talking about, the Child Protection System. That's what I call CPS, the Child Protection System. In a lot of places, it has different names. It has different names for them. And so what I'd like to do is use something simple when we're talking about CPS, because everybody knows pretty much what CPS stands for. A lot of places it's called the Child Protection Services, but I call it the Child Protection System. It's a government entity that's found in every county, in every state, and also in every country. It's a worldwide live stream. Anybody that has internet in the World Wide Web, the www, can listen in and interact in this live stream. I know that a lot of you are faced with the fact that this affects your family, your children, because there's so many rogue agencies out there. What I mean by that, ones that are just nothing about money and greed, and they don't do a very good job of doing family reunification or talking to parents or grandparents or next of kin. It's hard what you're going through. I, too, was a victim of CPS. I, too, was a victim of CPS. And it really was upsetting to me because it ruined my family. I went through the whole gamut with CPS. Wife and I were harassed by CPS for 5 years, coming to our home and wanting to know why were we not doing this with our children. What I was unknown about was that CPS works off reports from people that may have good intentions that call in. There's also people that don't have good intentions that call in. And that is where it happened to me. There are the mandated reporters, the professionals, your doctors, nurses, teachers, policemen, firemen, anybody that professionally works with children. They have to report suspected abuse or neglect. They're trained in it, they're educated in it, and by law they have to. Otherwise, they jeopardize losing their job. The other kind of reporter are the lay people, the people that are your relatives, your neighbors, your acquaintances, your friends, the people at the store, those kinds of people. And I think it's good that they can report suspected of neglect or abuse, but allow them to retaliate against neighbors, against their relatives, against the family. So many of you come on here daily, tell you about what your brother is saying about you, or your sister is saying about the spouse who may, you know, yesterday there was a gentleman that was having a hard time with his daughter saying stuff that wasn't true, and his sister coming on him and his parents and stuff. Had a horrible time. People that make false allegations should be held accountable. I had it in my case. It was my in laws, my wife's mother, father, three sisters, and brother would call in once a week for 5 years. I didn't find out about this until well after my case was over. But they did that because they were taking advantage of the situation that I had lost my job after working for 45 years. I was age 60 at the time, and I lost the job through no fault of my own. And it was hard. It was really, 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 really hard. When you lose a job, especially that old, they think dinosaurs can't work. Well, we have a president of the United States, 78 years old, and my goodness, he is the most active president I've ever seen. He's constantly trying to make changes and trying to work. So I think age is a matter of opinion. People always ask me how old I am. I say I'm forever young. Because age is a measurement of time that you're on this earth. But it's not really how you feel, how you look, or how you work. It's irrelevant. Some people are 20 years, 30 years younger than they are. So anyway, these reporters, these laypersons, will sometimes report things to alienate the children from one spouse to another, to have a financial gain or something that they want to have over you. About 50% of the time, they are wrong. 50% of the time, they're right. So it's a 50-50 situation with lay people. Now, with the professionals, I'd say 75% of the time that they're right. 75% of the time they're right. Now, my case went on and on. After 5 years, they finally jumped in and ordered me to open my home. And at that time in my life, my mom and dad, my dad had just recently died. My mom was not far behind, and their personal belongings in their beautiful home, and they had to offload them. And they asked me if I would help them give it to family and friends. Well, at that time, of course, I was with no work and I had no money for storage, so I brought them into my home. I have a beautiful home, a big, huge, large home at the beach. The only problem is that these boxes were stacked in the living room. The furniture was stacked in the living room. There's one room that was not, that was cluttered. And that's where they decided to nail me for negligence, because they said that because of your parents' belongings, they could somehow harm the children. The children were taller than the boxes, so I don't know how that would ever happen. Children's had their own private rooms upstairs. They had a family room they could watch TV or play games in. They had a yard they could play in. They had a swimming pool, a secured swimming pool that they could enjoy. They were close to the beach. We could walk to the beach. We had horse trails around us, so you could ride horses. There's lots of activities. It didn't have to vote around the living room. But they were constantly very vindictive, this agency out of Orange County called the CPS, Child Protection Services. And I did all the mistakes that I've learned not to do. If I knew what I knew today and I followed my own rules, my 5 rules, I would never have lost my children. I would never have had my family broken apart or lost my home. Yes, I lost my home. CPS, I had to get an attorney. I wanted to get the best attorney. In order to get the best attorney, it cost a lot of money. A lot of money. So I quick sell my home, took a half a loss in profit and equity, and sold it for as much as I paid for. And with the remainder of the money, of course, I paid off my first and second. And then whatever I had left, I did pay my attorney. That was my only source of getting income. That was my only source. Oh, it's a nightmare. It's a certainly nightmare. I know what you're going through. I opened my home, which I should never have done. I answered, I should never have followed the direction of the detective that had pulled me over. They got the local police, and they in turn got a detective on the case that would know my whereabouts, what I do, and try to follow me. It was all pre-proposed. They said that they would line up a whole group of people to find out what's wrong with this terrible home and these terrible parents. I mean, it's so bad how vindictive the CPS system in Orange County is. Now, this being early on, a lot of people, I did tell yesterday, but a lot of people used to be being on at 10 o'clock. So this is a live recording. So it's okay. I think people will be able to catch up. And hopefully, the things I'm sharing with you are important enough for you to think about your case, because that's my whole purpose on here. My whole purpose of doing this live stream is to help others not have to go through what I've gone through. Now, I've talked to over 22 countries. If you want to include the United States, that's 23 countries. The newest country was Republic of Congo, but I have countries from around the world. And they too have called in or texted in about their CPS problems. There's been representatives from every 50 states about a CPS agency that's gone rogue. They're found in every state, every county in the United States. It's also found in every city around the world. They're heartbreaking stories. We all are human beings on this earth, and we're really trying to make a family, raise a family, to have something better for our kids than when we were. I don't know why I'm losing my voice. But I know it's hard. I know it's hard that you're going through. The emotion strain is so bad. It was with me. It was so bad with me. Anyway, I'm glad you joined me, because this is a good place to be, because we can talk to you, we can help you, and help you be positive, because you're usually at your last ends. I was too. To be forced to come to my home by my stupidity and not recognizing that I didn't have to do this. To see 10 people in front of my house that wanted to find something wrong with my house, my home. I mean, there was 2 code enforcement, 5 firemen, 3 social workers, 2 uniformed policemen, and of course, the detective. I was ordered to open my home. I should never have done so. I should have said, look, if this is a legal matter, I need to have my attorney present. It's very, very important I have my attorney present. And so, with that being said, I just um, I was text a message trying to get someone to call in because I enjoy when people take the time to call in and talk about their case. It's really, really important. It's really, really important. You know, I've been fighting CPS for 15 years, and it takes a toll on you. Plus, for the last 18 months, that's actually 19 months, I think now. What is it? October, November, December. That's 3 months. All of 24 is 12. 3 and 5 is 3 and 12, that's 15 months. And then January, February, March, April, 4 months, 15, 19 months. I've been doing this live stream. That's a long time. I haven't missed a day yet. I do it even on holidays, Christmas Eve, New Year's Day, Christmas Day. Every holiday, I'm here. I'm here to help you all, to help you understand what you can do and what you cannot do with CPS, to face reality. It is a terrible, terrible face that you got to make. Excuse me. Now, what you need to do more than anything else is take a deep breath and relax and listen. Listen to what I have to say. You have to be careful with CPS. Not all of them are what they meant to be or what they're supposed to do. This particular agency, in my case, has gone bad, gone rogue, meaning they're not there for family reunification. In fact, a little bit, you know, a little bit history of the child protection system. It's a government entity found in every state, every county, and every city in the world, as I said. And their whole purpose is to investigate, then make a decision whether it's necessary to separate the children from the parents, intervene. They're also supposed to do family reunification. That means where they take a family that maybe has done something wrong through no choice, through something happened or something like that. Being homeless or being poor is not a grounds to take away your children. That's been further clarified at the beginning of this year. The I'm trying to find out. Um, the child welfare system is the one entrusted with protecting our children. You see, in 1962, Congress passed a law and instructed our social services to create a body, a government entity with social workers to protect their children from neglect and abuse, and also to do family reunification. This protection is very, very, very important. And the reason why it's very important, just yesterday, there was a case of some parents, 48 years old, both of them, starving a 10-year-old, their 10-year-old son to 36 pounds. And this was a horrible, horrible case in Georgia. Now the parents admitted to everything. It was really interesting. We need CPS because things like this should never happen. These parents somehow have gone off the deep end about raising children. And they found the boy running in the neighborhood looking for food. But that didn't stop there. Their stepson strangled the boy and killed him. So this is a horrible, horrible thing. This boy was deprived, locked up in his room with no way to use the bathroom, with no food or anything. This is a terrible, terrible case. That is horrified. I can't even go into the details about this at all, about how two human beings could do this. This is why we need the child protection system. You know, it's really, really sad. Not only do they have 40 years to do, that means they'll be 88 if they get out. They have 20 years of probation. So they'll be 100 years old. But just this whole thing right there makes you really wonder what went wrong. Now, I could not find out why CPS was not involved. This is the sad part. I see so many times CPS chase down innocent people because their house burned down or a hurricane came and washed their house down the streams, or, through natural disasters, they lost their home. They'll persecute those kinds of people. But they won't protect children from these other kinds of people. There's 1,000 cases that go unreported every day. Now, I've talked to a lot of you. I've talked to over 1,500 people from around the world, 23 countries, 50 states, including the District of Columbia. Everyone in the United States has reported a bad case of CPS. There isn't a state that's good completely, and that's the sad part about it. People have been fighting CPS for a long time. Nancy Schaefer, she was out of Georgia. She was murdered fighting for CPS. She is a senator from Georgia. 75 years old and murdered. Why? Because she was trying to uncover what was bad and corrupt about CPS. What you need to understand is the framework and how CPS works. How CPS works. Now, January 5 of this year, the child welfare was reformed, and family support signed into law. That was really important. This happened in Washington, D.C. It happened on a Saturday. And President Biden at the time signed it, but no one ever picked up on it. It's an important law that's supposed to help out the families. And these are the bullets that's supposed to help out. It's supposed to reduce the administrative burden by requiring the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, which is HHS, to reduce the paperwork and the data reporting for state agencies by requiring, and caseworkers by at least 15%. There's so much paperwork and so much wasted time. When they do an interview, the information that they collect goes into data. We don't know where it goes, but the government is tracking it. So you got to be really careful when you do an interview. You should always have your attorney present because you'll know when you cut it off. Also, during the interview, you should be asking questions. You should be putting CPS on the hot spot to find out the details of your allegations, point by point, taking time. Now, another thing this law did is it improves access for our Native American Indians, our first immigrants to this country, the Indian tribes, by streamlining funding as well as monitoring state emergencies with the Indian Child Welfare Act. Now, this thing called the Indian Child Welfare Act, ICWA, it was first created in 1978 because for a long time, for over 100 years, CPS has been taking Indian children and not returning them to the parents, not do family reunification. In 1875, and there's 3 time periods, by the way, of our protection of our children. The first time period is from 1600 to 1875. Second time period is from 1875 to 1962. And in 62 is when they created the child protection system. And then from 1962 to the present is where we're at. So there's been 3 different periods of history that CPS has said. The reason why they picked 1875 is because the Native American Indian tribes were being rounded up and put on reservations. The European settlers and the people from around the world were suddenly tired of the Native American Indians living in the country, free and wild. They were here first. They deserved to be there. But they were a different culture. Europeans supposedly said they had a better culture. And what I mean by Europeans is the next set of people that come to North America after the Indians was the Vikings. And they're from the Norway, Scandinavian area, Sweden and Denmark. They were exploring, but they never settled in the United States. They got as far north as Missouri. Far west as Missouri, I should say. They're up north in Nova Scotia, Rhode Island, or traces of Vikings. And then we had our European, the Portuguese, the English, the French, the Spanish. All the European countries were setting sail to find out about this new world that alleged Christopher Columbus discovered. He never set foot on North America. He found the Caribbeans, And that's where the name Indian came from, by the way, because he thought he was in India. So he called the indigenous people Indians, named after India. Anyway, the cultures from Europe, and I'd say also from Asia, because we had the Chinese and, excuse me, different people coming in. And it's important to understand that this January new laws change and so forth. We're going to have about the Indians because they were rounded up and put on reservations. Tribes from Florida were put into Oklahoma. The Lakota Sioux were being settled in reservations, the Crows and so forth. And they're rounding up children because they wanted to brainwash and change the children because they thought they could erase the Indians. The people at that time thought by eliminating the Indians, it was the right way to do it. Sort of like if you look at World War II, how Nazi Germany was rounding up Jews and people because they had a different way of life. You know, looking at a Jew and a non-Jew, you couldn't really tell the difference. You can't tell the difference. The same thing as treatment of the black people from Africa. They were brought to the United States as trades, as slaves. You know, they were brought there because, again, it's a culture of people that are not maybe what they call, you know, civilized. You know, I wonder who is really civilized. If you look at it, the world today is a very complex. I mean, we are still fighting among ourselves. We still have a dictator that is just brutally murdering Ukrainian who have survivors from World War II, older ladies being raped and killed and slaughtered, babies, children taken. This goes on with groups that have been fighting for years, with the Arabs and the Jews fighting in the Middle East, with the different kind of radical groups that their goal is totally different. You know, people, even two countries, India and Pakistan, are in arms with each other. I mean, yesterday they're throwing missiles. Uh, it's really a hard world we live in. And children are at the onslaught of slaughter. These Native American Indian children were rounded up and put in private schools. And then they were disciplined. They had their hair cut, they had their way of life changed. They no longer could wear their traditional clothing or practice their own traditional ways. And that went on over 100 years into ICWA. Then in 1978, they said that the child protection system had to identify that children that rounded up or family rounded up if they were Indian children or not. Now, with most tribes, 25% blood makes you an Indian, and there are 548 federal recognized tribes. So if your tribe is one of those 548 tribes as recognized by the federal, then you can be registered as a native Indian, or you could be registered. And um, oh boy, I don't recognize that call. That call is something that I don't recognize. Um, uh, Dick will basically tells CPS they cannot steal Indian children with first determine with the family if they're part Indian. If they're part Indian, then they're supposed to be turned over to the reservation. The reservation in turn will put them with Indian family to help them. And they will do it. The Indians are really good about taking care of their own. But the American Indians have gone through a lot of sadness. Alcohol does not seem to do good with American Indians, and so a lot of them resorted to drinking. And one of the poorest places in the United States, more poor than Appalachia in Virginia, is the tribe of Lakota Sioux Indians in Rosebud, South Dakota. They're so poor. We're very blessed to have what we have. Even though I've lost everything and I have the feeling of knowing what it is to lose your home, to lose your family, to have your family broken up by evil people. But now they have of ways of helping these Indian children after 100 years, save them. Because what has been happening in the past is when CPS discovers a family that is in trouble or something like that, they immediately get the kids adopted out in foster care. The families never see their children again. That's the European way. And the reason, we need to stop, those are our roots, by the way. Once we're born in the United States, we are native. We're native to the United States. Once you are born as a child, you're a native here. And you become a U.S. citizen. So the stigma of where you're from, if you're an Indian or a European or someplace else in the world, you are American. You are American. All of us that are born here in the United States are American. There's no need, whether we're black, white, red, whatever ways it's going to be. So they were getting additional help from Congress. So hopefully, this access to Indian tribes will be a better position for them. Another thing that they did is they support the expansion of evidence based services to prevent child abuse and neglect and ensure children are not separated from parents solely due to poverty-related neglect. That's one of the things that they're trying to improve on. They're trying to improve on. Now, I want to recognize NYP, Nisha from California City, California. Hello and welcome, NYP. How can I change social workers? That's a good question. I think social workers need to be trained. They need more. A lot of them don't have a high school education. A lot of them have attitude problems. Before you become a social worker, you need to be educated. You need to at least have a college degree, a major in social work. Secondary, you should have a minor in clinical psychiatry because you are dealing with psychology with parents and children. So you need to have those two backgrounds. So a major in social work, a minor in clinical psychiatry. Also, for a better pay or more improvement, you should try to get a master's and a PhD. But I don't think that's necessary. I think if you have a college degree, then secondary, you need to work as an internship for 5 years, learning how families are being helped by older social workers, not because of their age, because of their seniority being in the system. It needs to be ongoing training. Training needs to happen all the time. Further, you need a license that's renewable every 5 years with a lot of the changes that take place. And also to renew your values and so forth. So you need a license. Then you're in the internship program being trained. And then you're evaluated by a board. You see, right now, CPS doesn't have a structure. They're like a loose cannon. There should be a board of directors or supervisors that review every county CPS in every state. There should be these social workers need to be held accountability for their actions. So, Nisha, that's how you can change it. You can lobby and make changes. You can lobby and make changes. Now, hello, Keila Steffens. Does Vincent Davis represent people in Illinois? Yes, he does. Vincent will represent anybody in the United States. I assume you're from Illinois, and welcome. Welcome, Kayla. A warm welcome. And since you mentioned my attorney, Vincent W. Davis, he's the one that created this live stream, and I want to thank him for what he does. He goes out of his way to help other people. He is expensive, I agree on that. But what you get with him is a professional, licensed attorney trained in the areas of juvenile law, family law, and dependency law with 39 years of experience of fighting CPS. Further, he is a trial attorney. He can do trials. So if it's a criminal matter, there's going to be a trial by your peers. He also, when the case is over, he'll do a civil lawsuit. He's done numerous civil lawsuits and won millions of dollars against CPS, both in state court and federal court. So he's the real deal. Okay, Kayla, please come back. Thank you. Morning, Betty Joe. It's good to see you. I think I had a little bit of a rest. My face is not so flushed this morning, so hopefully my complexion is better. I'm glad you look after me. Betty Joe is a wonderful person. She's a mother, and she's a grandmother, and she's also a foster care mom. She is priceless. She takes in children. I mean, she tells us about a boy that she took in, a young boy. I think he's 4 or 5 right now. And his parents were killed on a Friday night a couple of months ago. And she took the boy and she cared for him. The boy developed a bond with Betty Jo. Unfortunately, Betty Jo, who isn't in the trying to adopt children, just wants to help out children. The boy is placed in one of the family members, and they tried to adopt him, but it didn't work out. It did not work out. So she's gotten the boy back, and now she wants to adopt him. She wants to take care of the little boy who calls her mom. He's a really responsive, loving child. Even when he was with his next of kids, he would call her and tell her, "I'm all right, Mom." Betty Jo is also trying to get her brother's daughter back. It's her niece, Betty Jo's niece. And it's been a very hard time because her brother and his girlfriend left Montana and went to Nebraska to live in a treehouse. That isn't suitable for the kids. The mother and the father were on drugs. They couldn't hold down jobs, and the kid was in bad shape. So he was placed in a foster home, and the foster home wants kids because a lot of times they get money. That's the incentive. They get money. Anyway, Betty Jo had gained custody of the child and was using the ICPC, the Interstate Compact for Placement of Children, which safely transfers the children from one state to another state. And Betty Jo was so excited to have her niece with her. But the foster parents made a stitch that the child would undergo drastic suffering because they had made a bond, supposedly the foster parents. They were interested only in the money that they were getting, not the child. Anyway, Betty Jo's still fighting to take him back. She talked the last time she was in here. She had visitations with her niece, but they weren't letting her see her. She's supposed to get the child, an adopted child. And so, Betty, if you could give me the update of where you're at, that would be great. But thank you for coming to the room and being supportive in here. Welcome, Kayla. You've talked to me before from Illinois. Well, thank you. I talk to a lot of people, and sometimes it's hard to remember. So if I hire him, he'll walk into court, the CPS court. In your case, Illinois, it's called the Department of Children and Family Services, DCFS. Yes. All you have to do is talk to him. Now, he will have, in addition to his legal fees, he'll have per diem, which is the airfare to fly to Illinois from Los Angeles. He'll need ground transportation to go from the airport to the motel room, which he'll need accommodations and food while he's there because he's out of state. If he's here in LA, he'd have his accommodations and food already taken care of, and he has his own transportation. But there, he has to get 4 items in the per diem. Now, I know that his retainer, for instance, if he's going to work in LA County, it's a $5,000 retainer. He's a $500 an hour attorney, which is pretty pricey. There are more expensive attorneys than $500. The other day, a couple from Georgia wanted to have him come to Georgia. He quoted them $125,000 for their case for a retainer. And you probably say, oh my goodness, that is hard. His value for the retainer depends on the complexity of the case and how long the case has been going on. and the location of the case. Now, he has cases in San Bernardino County, Riverside County, Orange County, LA County, San Diego County, Santa Barbara County, Kern County, a place up north. He has cases in Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Missouri. He is a busy, busy, busy man. Not all this is going on at once, but he has various degrees of people. I know a person that comes here all the time, Margaret King from Kern County, has hired him and talks about him all the time. Now, Betty Jo's given an update about her niece. I'm still waiting on visitations. The social worker has left the case and went to the foster care board to work now. So we have to find a new caseworker. That is terrible because when caseworkers change, a lot of stuff gets lost. And so Betty Jo is going to be faced with starting at the beginning with a new caseworker. It is tough because the niece deserves to be with her aunt. A beautiful woman, a foster care background, and knows how to take care of children. She's going to adopt a child too, so she'll have a child for the niece. They'll have like a brother-sister relationship, something that they both need. Okay, the TPR is next week. Now, that's the termination of your brother's and your brother's girlfriend's rights. I thought that already happened, but the termination of parental rights is next week. Okay, so I guess your brother and his girlfriend. I think his girlfriend's already had, yeah, both of them. Okay, I hope it goes well. When kids are up for adoption, they have to have something called determination of parental rights. That's something you should fight. You should appeal it if you want your children back. But I think her brother and his girlfriend realizes that they're not very good parents and they can't seem to get rid of the vices like the drug thing that's hurting the drug that's hurting them. Now, Betty Jo says her only stipulation is, I like to have visitations with my niece. I'm okay with her being in the foster family. Oh, so you no longer want to adopt your niece. I didn't know you changed about that. I thought you wanted to take your niece so she'd be close to you in Montana. So you think the foster family is going to win the case? This is terrible. Strangers over a child instead of family members. Wow. You're still a beautiful person, so you will have no legal bound after they terminate parental rights. I don't know. Maybe not terminate the rights of the father because I heard that he's doing better. There's always hope. There's always hope. I think the child should be adopted by you. You should be guardianship of that child until your brother can better himself and someday be the father to his daughter. Now, Kayla says, I've done everything. I'm going to appeal. Okay, I understand that. Appeal, you can use the internet. My rule number 4 is very important, is you spend time on the internet reading about your case. You can find so much, but it's how you format your words. If you're searching for something, always start off with the city, followed by the state. And if you're outside the United States, put your country. Then after that, put the letters CPS. And you'll see a bunch of things for that city pop up. And you want to be specific in CPS, like you want to find a juvenile law, a family law, a dependency law attorney, you'd put that in after the letter CPS. If you wanted to understand the ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978, and then the changes in 1925, in 2025, you could put that in there. But you got to spend some time, 60 to 80 hours, about your case. Good morning, David. It's so good to hear from you again. How did it go in court yesterday? You were talking to me about your case yesterday on the phone. It's so good to hear from you, David. And good morning to you. Now, Kayla says the foster mom is a crime scene. The investigators, so they love Kim. Now, who is Kim? Trying to find appeal attorneys. Well, Vincent is, but he's going to be expensive. I'm not going to say he's going to be cheap. My case is complicated. A lot of conflict of interest with attorneys due to another family members was also in the court. Yes, that's the sad part. There's always a conflict of interest. And I'm sorry to hear about that. Now, Betty is offering you help there, Kayla. She says if you can provide that to the judge, do it. If you can have a conflict of interest, provide it to the judge. The judge is the referee. And Kayla says the foster mom, I guess, is where the conflict of interest is. David says he fired his court appointed attorney and Mr. Davis is taken over. We go to trial next month. Great job, because I know that you were in court yesterday and his attorney was a court appointed attorney and Mr. Davis is taken over. And Mr. Davis will help you out, David. David has a horrible case. His daughter, who was 9 at the time, has turned against him and accused him of inappropriate behaviors against her. David's sister has sided with the same thing and taken a position that David is doing bad things to his daughter and other family members are doing. And he has proven 3 separate times that nothing became of the allegations. All he has to do is get those medical reports proving that there's nothing wrong with your daughter on the 3 times she was examined by a doctor. Make sure you help Vincent Davis on that. Get a hold of those medical reports right away before your trial next month. Follow Mr. Davis's way of doing it. You're in good hands with him. You're in good hands. Now, Kayla says, what does he cap out the total price? I have the money, not put it out there. How much? Well, Kayla, if you call me today, and let me put my number up there too. It's very important that you call me today and talk to me, and I'll get you the price and your case. I need to know more about your case, so you need to talk to me first, and then I can text them and I'll get the price. Okay? So you just call me at 626-698-0990. Any of you can call me right now. I'm taking live phone calls. I try to vary my show from time to time. So I try to present information at different stages. Now, Betty Joe has offered fire the judge and ask for a new one. If the judge is corrupt, you can fire the judge. There's a procedure you can do that. You can call right now to talk about your case or after my show. You can call me. I am going to go to court, so I'll have to excuse, but I will take phone calls while I drive or talk to you. Okay, Keila. Okay, there's my number. All right. Okay.
Good morning, Bob.
Hey, David. Glad to hear from you again. For all the listeners, I have David Hilago from. You're from Los Angeles County, right?
No, I'm in Santa Maria, Santa Barbara County.
That's right. I forgot. I'm sorry. He is from Santa Maria in Santa Barbara County, and he has hired on Mr. Davis to help his case of wrongly being accused by his sister and his daughter of improper behavior to his daughter. I don't want to get into the details of specific. I think that's personal. And the show being a family show, I have to be careful what I say on this show here. So, how did the court? I mean, you met Mr. Davis, right? Did he show up at court?
He was on a video phone call, and then well, first of all, I want to say good morning to everybody. God bless everybody. So I went to court, and my lawyer was not too happy. So he saved me for last, just about. And so when my court going to court, I had a judge that's got was in a bad mood already. And so when we went in there, Mr. Davis was on the phone call, but there was technical difficulty. All of a sudden, Mr. Davis's call did not go through. They couldn't hear him. So this really upset the judge. But the funny thing is, when the courtroom saw Mr. Davis appear and his name, they all started murmuring. All the judges, all the attorneys for the state were all, "Oh, that's Vince Davis," and they started all murmuring. I found that kind of odd. I don't know.
Well, because he's the number one. I don't know. He's the number one attorney in the country. I mean, you got yourself a very good attorney, and he has a big price, but he'll get your daughter back. It's going to be hard because you got to accept the reality that your daughter may not want to come back, and if she wants to, at age 12, she can emancipate from you. That's something that you have to be careful about.
No, she's 9 right now.
I know, but when she turns 12, a social worker can tell her what to do. She can divorce you, the dad. She can change her name completely. She can get a new birth certificate, be adopted by your sister, and get a new social security card, and go be.
That's craziness.
I'm trying to tell you the reality. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it, but you got to be prepared because my daughter did the same thing too. Mr. Davis was my attorney, and he was so good. He caught the social worker committing perjury. She lied under oath. And so the social worker retaliated. They do retaliation. So she got a hold of our 12-year-old daughter and told her what to do. And so she divorced us. Mom and dad were faced. There's nothing they could do. There's nothing they could do. And it was sad. It was so sad. So I don't want that information to get to your sister or get to your daughter. You got to be prepared, though. You always got to be prepared. I don't know if you played any sports, but the best offense is also the defense, meaning you got to think ahead, strategies. It's like a game of chess.
Yeah, I hear you.
So you always,
hear everything you're saying.
You got to be prepared.
To prevent that. Yes.
Right.
But the only difficult thing is just the slander that my sister continues to make against me because everybody's listening. I'm already convicted in the court of public opinion, and my sister, I don't know how she got wind, but she even showed me to dismiss my attorney, she showed up with her husband, and she had shirts on that had him on it and saying, asking for justice, which I thought was just completely, just completely craziness. And at this point,
that was inappropriate. That was inappropriate. Yeah, I agree with what you said. Just a moment, David. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, hold on 1 second, David. I need to answer my constituents are in the room here. Kayla wants Betty Jo's number, and that's okay to exchange numbers. An easy way to do it is that Kayla, text me your number at 626-698-0990. I think I have Betty Jo's number, and so I will copy it and paste it to Betty Jo, and then she can contact Kayla from Illinois. Okay, so I'll do that. Continue on, David. So when they finally got up to think about substitution, when they got about substitution of the attorney, why was there a fight to keep that bad attorney in?
I don't know if there was a fight, but I just found it odd that my sister and her husband showed up to be a part of that. You know, they didn't say anything, but they showed up and they were there wearing shirts that said "Justice for my daughter," and I thought that was making sure that everybody saw those shirts.
I don't know how Santa Maria or Santa Barbara County does their courtrooms. In Orange County, there are no spectators allowed in the courtroom, and your sister. And there's no next of family of kin. In fact, the father, was never in the courtroom. I had to sit in the hallway and wait. And there were times that bring you in, but it was like at the end of the session. So you never knew how your attorney was fighting. You never knew. And it's sad. It's sad. Also, it should always be a court trial, meaning it should be a trial by your peers. Too many of these cases are doing it without that. And you can ask for a trial by your peers. It isn't far-fetched, but I think the peers are a lot more intelligent than having one individual like a judge decide or a CPS's attorneys, the plaintiff attorneys decide. I think that's one of the problems in CPS cases is that we don't have jury trials, and we should.
I'm waiting for a call from Mr. Davis today, and I'm thanks everybody. And you know, even the judge looked at me with disdain, and he's just a sitting-in judge because the regular judge was on vacation.
Yeah.
And you know, they were upset that Mr. Davis was there and that Mr. Davis asked for more time, but they did give us till almost the end of next month to prepare. They begrudgingly, but they did it.
Yeah, I know that Mr. Davis really cares, you know. I know he does.
And the thing is, in Santa Barbara County, particularly in Santa Maria, all the public defenders there, they don't care. They won't do anything for you. And I was sitting in the lobby talking to, you know, other people who are represented by the court, by the public defenders, and you know, they're all basically telling me the same thing too. They don't want to do anything for anybody. So it's sad that, you know, for the people who can't afford people like Mr. Davis, you're pretty much stuck. You're just a cog in the wheel.
I agree.
And there is no justice. That's another thing too. That's a myth. In this country, you know what? And especially in the juvenile court, you're guilty till proven innocent. Like I told you yesterday, Bob, that you know, it's a Napoleonic law, because I've gone over all the reports that CPS did to give to the judge, and you know, all the accusations, they're all false. But the way that they're written, you know, it's condemned me already. And the facts that clear me, they're minuscule. You know, they don't elaborate on any of that. And what the CPS worker basically told me, it's not our job to prove your innocence.
Right.
That's exactly what the CPS worker said. They're not interested in the truth. They're not interested in facts. They're just interested in making a report that makes me look bad based on nothing but accusations. And 99% of this reports that they submitted against me are just on false accusations. And that's it. There's nothing to substantiate their issue.
No, I know that, but you need to get the evidence. you have to get those 3 medical reports from 3 separate doctors on 3 separate occasions. You'll need to have those doctors testify in court. They have to be subpoenaed because a piece of paper is not going to win your case. They have to be testified so that they can be asked questions. Now, I have discovered, or I should not say discovered because I've been talking about it, is that a party can request a jury trial. It says in cases involving the Child Protection Services, a party can request a jury trial. The substantial proof is the same whether a jury hears the case, but there are specialized procedures for CPS cases. The final hearing or trial will determine whether a child should be returned to the parents or whether a parent's rights should be restricted or terminated. Now, you're going to have to, since Mr. Davis is a trial attorney, he's done trials, jury trials, criminal jury trials. So he's in a perfect set. You need to explore that idea because if you're recognizing that that county, Santa Barbara County, is very corrupt, then you're going to need a jury because a judge will not, there's a question here. It says, what's the purpose of CPS case going to jury? My stepson was placed in foster March of last year. And he was placed with a mom on a monitor home visits and was removed again recently last month. Mom is also being indicted on 3 felony charges that she caught while the case had been opened. My husband and I live in Colorado. We have complied with everything that was required. Why is a judge requesting a jury trial? Also, will Texas acknowledge a voluntary parenting class from Colorado? I guess they're now in Colorado. It's very confusing. These are questions and answers. And a family law attorney said, a judge does not request a jury trial. A party to a suit faces a jury demand and pays a jury fee to take the case out of the judge's hands and put it in a jury's hands. You appear to have a strong case, but does your husband, the father, have family law counsel? Does he have pleadings filed? The mother attorney probably asked for jury because she appears to be in deep trouble. Has your husband gotten an ICP placement, which is the Interstate Compact for Placement of Children from state to state? The home study completed and placement approved. Certified copies of the Colorado parenting classes are probably the least of his priorities, but can be offered into evidence in Texas. He needs to get with counsel or get counsel and get prepared to present mom's criminal evidence for placement. Well, she has criminal charges. Now, I too, in my case, had criminal charges. At the same time, I had CPS charges. The purpose of the criminal charges was retaliation because they had tried for 5 years to find something on me. And they were doing that because they added some other charges to my case. They added sexual charges that they knew was a ploy as a trading card. Not only was I charged with negligence by the criminal matter, it's a misdemeanor, by the way, and the sexual charges were considered a misdemeanor, but they did that solely to delay the social workers of my case. A year had to be fought first on the criminal charges. And like a fool, I plea bargained. They said they'd drop the charges against my wife and drop the sexual charges against me and my wife. But I'd have to accept the negligence charges. And in that charges, I said, well, the wording's got to be to have accepted negligence. It's because the boxes were placed too hard and could endanger the children. They're placed too high and they could endanger the children. I plea bargained. That was the biggest mistake I should have ever made. I should never have done that. I did lose David, and I'm back live with you guys now.
I'm right here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were being so quiet. Betty Joe says you cannot do a jury trial for termination of parental rights. I don't know, Betty Joe, because I'm not a lawyer. I'm only educating myself on the internet. And I was reading about how you can do a trial by jury, and that is for lawyers to determine. And what states? Maybe in Montana they don't allow it. You know, um, the purpose of a CPS case going to jury. Here's another question. My stepson was placed in foster March of last year. He was placed with mom on a monitoring home visits. Oh, I just read this. This is the same question. I already read that question. Um, that's all about that same hearing. Um, this is in Texas. So these are legal questions in here. But I'm sure, and here's Vincent Davis's pictures there. Here is, he has two YouTube videos, one called Preparing for a CPS Trial, My Story. And that's where he talks about his. If all of you really want to hear videos for free and educate yourself, there are thousands and thousands of videos of Mr. Davis and of myself. I've been fighting for CPS for 15 years. Vince has been fighting for 39 years. And he's a trial attorney. So I wish in my case that I had a jury trial. I wish I had a jury trial. And Vincent Davis would have been the lawyer. And I wish I got him at the beginning of my case because I lost my daughter in retaliation. But Vincent has so many details on steps. You can be educated so much by listening to Vincent Davis for days after days after days. He has so much that he'll offer to help you all out there.
Hey, Bob, I have a quick question for you.
Go ahead.
I wanted to see what you think about this. Would it behoove me to try to find an independent or talk with Mr. Davis and see if we could find an independent just to go over what the CPS forensic interviewers did? You know, somebody who's neutral that could go over and pick apart their reports.
If you can see the reports, you know, they're public record and you should be able to get them, but that Vincent will have to help you on that.
Because I mean, like to get somebody who would be I could bring in as a witness, or like a what do they call that? Someone to bring in on my side to tear apart their questions and kind of interpret what they interpreted against me.
Yeah, the clinical psychologist would help. It's a strategy. It's going to be Mr. Davis's call because he's the expert. I put my hands in I put everything in his hands. He got back my two boys, but unbeknownst to Mr. Davis and myself, my daughter, of course, emancipate from the parents. She divorced the mom and dad, and she changed her name, and she got a new birth certificate and a second Social Security card where she was double dipping from Social Security from my retirement, and was adopted to foster care. That was a worst case scenario. She's 22 now, and she's so brainwashed to think her mom and dad are horrible people. A lot of the family members on my side of the family think that we're horrible parents. My wife has lost her whole family because they're the ones who are the instigator, and her dad went to his grave dying that he would never, ever say he was sorry to his daughter. It was so sad in my case that the mother is still alive, her mother, but she is so adamant that she didn't take her child. They're the ones that coached and everything. Her sisters were very, very bad, very, 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 very corrupt. And so You know,
God knows the truth, Bob.
yeah, I thought about doing a lawsuit, which I had every right to do a lawsuit against a social worker. But I ran out of money. It was $50,000 to do a civil lawsuit. And I just don't have any more money. I already spent hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to get my two boys back.
Does Mr. Davis do that too?
He does lawsuits. He does lawsuits.
Okay.
But it's only if your
Good.
case
We
is
can get
over.
registered
If your
exposed for all
case
this.
is over down the road, and a lawsuit's the worst thing to do anyway. But you can do a lawsuit against the agency that did you wrong. If they violated your civil rights or your constitutional rights, it's a case of a lawsuit. And Vincent Davis has won millions of dollars.
For false allegations.
You can do that. You can do that. It's all depends on the interpretation of the law. And again, Vincent Davis is the professional. He is a lawyer with 39 years of experience of fighting CPS. He's won millions of dollars against CPS in civil lawsuits, both in state and federal court. And sometimes it's best to fight in federal court. Go ahead.
Bob, I assume that Mr. Davis also has access to bring in what are they, witnesses, like psychologists and people.
He has all kinds. Right? He has a law office. He does not only CPS matters. He does divorce matters. He does immigration, real estate matters, your workplace matters, injury matters, things like do with that. I mean, he is all encompasses with a whole team of lawyers, and he has an office, a legitimate office, and he does care. There are people waiting in line to see him because he's that popular, because he knows the system. In fact, you know what CPS does? They take their videos of Mr. Davis and use it as a teaching tool to social workers of what not to say or what not to do. They know that he's that good. And I want to welcome Kelly Fisher from Chicago. Thank you, Kelly, for joining me again. And Betty Jo says there's Mrs. K on Monday nights. True. She's Mrs. K from Brooklyn, New York. And she does a show at 5:30 Pacific time and 5:30, 6:30, 7, 8:30 Eastern time. And also, I still don't have the phone number from Kayla, so I can give it to Betty Jo. I need your phone number. Just text it to me, Kayla. Just text it to me.
And, well, I better get going. I want to wish you guys all a good morning and thank everybody for your time. And it was good talking to you again, Bob.
David, I want twice a day, so don't be a stranger. Call in. I like having you on my show because you help out a lot of people here, whether you realize it or not. So good luck with your case. And, as I say, one of your homework assignments is getting those medical reports to give to Mr. Davis. They are key to your success in your case.
Okay. We'll do that. I appreciate you, Bob.
Right. You take care. Everybody. You take care, David. God bless you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. That was David Halago from Santa Maria. He's in Santa Barbara County with a CPS case, a bad case. His daughter has accused him 3 times, and he has proven 3 separate times that she was not improperly touched by her father. And his sister is doing on the bandwagon. And yesterday in court, when they fired the court-appointed attorney and hired Mr. Davis, the sister wore a shirt with the child's name on, and her husband did the same. There's a lot of intimidation factors that go on for evil people sometimes. And it's hard. It's really, really hard. And Kelly Fisher is a team member for Fighting CPS. Thank you, Kelly, for being in here from Chicago, Illinois. And Kayla says, Betty Jo says, Kayla, I would be a great private investigator. Betty Jo is offering her services. Uh, yes, Betty Jo is very thorough, very knowledgeable. She's very thorough, very knowledgeable. Now, I've gone on my show longer than I anticipated, and I have to go to court now. It's about a half an hour drive. And I want to thank you all for listening on my show. This is probably the longest time I've done a show, but David, it was really important to talk to him. I think this trial by jury is something to look into. And if your case can be done by a jury trial, I think that may be a new change if they do a lot more jury trials. But I want to thank Kelly Fisher from Chicago, Illinois, for being in my room. Betty Jo from Montana, a foster mom, a good foster mom. And thank you for being a repeated family member here. Kayla Steffens from Illinois, thank you for being here. Please text your phone number to me at 626-698-0990 so I can get the number to Betty Jo so that she can call you. You guys can talk together about your cases there. Let me see. And then I want to thank David Hilago from Santa Maria for calling in and sharing his story about his daughter. And then I cannot thank enough when NYP, who is Anisha, who has been on my show. She's from California City, California, and she's a regular. And thank you for calling in. And she has a terrible case of her child was born with rickets, meaning that her bones are breakable easily. And the parents are accused of breaking their child's bones. And that's how stupid they are because they have a medical report that supports the child has rickets. It's where the bone doesn't get strength enough and is easily broken at birth and by people changing diapers and holding the child. So I want to thank you all. God bless you all. And I'll be on again tonight at 7 p.m. Then again tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., my normal time, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. So this is Bob Pace telling you, please keep fighting for your children. Don't give up. I care about all of you and your children, and I pray for you. So God bless. Have a beautiful day. This is Bob Pace.